What's up, guys? We are back with Monday Night NFL action with the Cincinnati Bengals going on the road to take on the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to break down the injury report, look at player props, and find the best value on the side and over-under for this game. And we're going to cover the entire NCAA basketball slate, so buckle up. We have a great video for you tonight. If you want to win all of your Monday bets, hit that like button. It's good luck and shows support for the channel and all the hard work we're putting in every single day. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on our daily content. You can now also sign up for a channel membership by clicking the little join button right below the video. Members get exclusive early access to all NFL and college football videos and get their names up on screen just like right now. I really appreciate the support from all of you. Seeing that little badge next to your comments absolutely warms my heart. Our videos are brought to you by Stump the Spread. We have a team of experienced cappers over there for every major sport, currently covering NFL, college football, NBA, NCAA basketball, NHL, and the UFC. This is one of the best times of the year to sign up. We put a crazy amount of work into our premium content, and getting them right now in the heart of the best time of the sports season is a huge win for everyone. Just type Stump the Spread into your search engine of choice, and you can easily view our free picks, new ones posted daily, and you can join our free email list to get updates on results and free picks straight to your inbox. Comment below with any bets you're looking today, and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We are committed to responding to every single comment every day, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into this Monday Night Football matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Dallas Cowboys. Cincinnati has not been having the season they imagined, guys. They're 4-8 overall. They're currently second to last. They're in the AFC North. They're coming off a tough loss, another tough loss. It's been a season full of tough losses there for Cincinnati. They lost 44-38 there against the Pittsburgh Steelers. A very tough game. They played them really close. Another loss against, a playoff team, and Cincinnati just continues to have a rough time. Joe Burrow played great in the loss once again, completed 28 of 38 passes, 309 yards, 3 touchdown passes. He was picked off once, but the dude was sacked 4 times, and it's starting to feel like the protection for him is not where we want it to be. It's been a rough season for Joe Burrow. He would be a borderline runaway MVP candidate, but his team just isn't good enough. A lot of that blame, the vast majority of that blame, falls on this defense. On offense against the Steelers, a pretty good defense, guys. We saw Chase Brown put up good numbers in the running game. He had a 40-yard run. He ended up with 70 yards on 12 carries and a rushing touchdown. So very good stuff there. The two-headed monster of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins did their thing out there. Not the most efficient night. I mean, Chase caught 6 out of 9 targets. Higgins caught 5 out of 10. They ended up, both getting over 60, basically 70 yards plus each. Each one of them had a receiving touchdown. Each one of them put up a nice long reception. So, yeah, not a whole ton more you could ask them to do. Joe Burrow could be asked to have a little bit better ball security, guys. I mean, he lost 2 fumbles, but the guy's getting pressured on every drop back, and he's got to try and get the ball out somehow. So it's not like he can just sit there with 2 hands on the ball the whole time. So, yeah, I'm not putting all the blame for that on Joe Burrow, but he at least gets something of a share in terms of the defense, giving up 44 points to the Steelers. Not exactly a great look, guys. I mean, Russell Wilson had 414 passing yards against them, 3 passing touchdowns. The Bengals did get an interception. They had a couple of sacks, but they also couldn't really slow down the run, giving up 110 rushing yards in total and a rushing touchdown. Najee Harris had 75 yards on 16 carries. That is not getting the job done. They did a decent job, I guess, of holding Pickens in check. I mean, a little bit. He still had 74 yards and a touchdown, but only caught half of his targets. So make of that what you will, but this is not a great Bengals defense. It's been a huge problem for them all season long. They come into this game, guys, they are 31st in the NFL, giving up 28.3 points per game, which has to feel really, really bad for the offense that is tied for 5th, averaging nearly 28 points per contest. So, yeah, not great. Not great stuff for the Bengals right now. Not great stuff on defense, at least. In terms of their injury report, they come into this one a little bit banged up, guys. I mean, they're healthy on offense with only Orlando Brown Jr. going to be sitting this one out on the offensive line. And while they're going to need all the help they can get against this Dallas pass rush, I don't think this is going to make that big of a difference, as the pass blocking for Burrow has been terrible all season long. And I don't think Orlando Brown Jr. is really going to be the difference maker. Like, whether he's in or out isn't going to change whether or not this is a good offensive line. On the defensive side, guys, Sheldon Rankins is going to be sidelined on the defensive line. But once again, this isn't a great pass rushing unit. His absence doesn't really change any of my opinions about this game, but the Bengals, they could really use all hands on deck here as they go on the road to take on the Dallas Cowboys, who come into this one 5-7 on the season. They've actually managed to win their last 2 in a row. It's not like Dallas has been having a great year, guys. Don't get me wrong. It's been pretty brutal out there, with Dak going down for the season, some other injuries, and really some very ineffective play to start the year. Their last couple of games, though, a win at Washington and a win over the New York Giants. A pretty competitive win there against the Giants, a 27-20 win, but hey, they will definitely take it. That was that win on Thanksgiving, so they've had some time off, guys. Dallas comes into this game very, very fresh. We liked what we saw from Cooper Rush, generally speaking, in that game. I mean, 21 of 36, maybe not amazing, but 195 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. He was also sacked 0 times. So if they can keep him, in that same sort of situation, game managing, doing all the, correct things, the kind of easy plays, and keep him from getting sacked, I don't know why he can't be a good game manager, especially if you've got Dowdle, guys. He was balling out there, 112 yards on 22 carries and a touchdown. He also had a 22-yard rush mixed in there, so that's very, very good. No problems detected there. The Dallas running attack has not been very good this season. That Ezekiel Elliott signing just continues to look more and more hilarious, as the games go by, and he does nothing, but very good stuff there from Dowdle. He's running the ball well. We didn't see an amazing day from CeeDee Lamb. He only caught 2 out of his 6 targets, so we'll see if he can step it up a little bit in this spot. I mean, Turpin had a nice day, 4 of 5 targets and 53 yards, but no one wide receiver really popped off in any amazing way there for Dallas. That could be something we might look at to change here in this matchup against a very bad Bengals defense, but we'll see what happens there. In terms of the defense for Dallas, guys, they gave up 20 points against the Giants. Not the best look. They struggled a little bit there against the run, especially the running there of Drew Lock, but I don't think we're worried too much about Joe Burrow suddenly becoming a run-it-first quarterback. I don't think that's going to be a thing. They had 6 sacks last week, which feels great, but we got to keep in mind, guys, that was against the Giants, so let's not freak out too much. Let's not act like this Dallas defense is going to be having 6 sacks again in this one, although I say that the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line, their pass blocking is really, really bad. So plenty of reason for concern there, no doubt about that. The Dallas, didn't do a great job against the run, like we were discussing, but it wasn't a nightmare. They held Neighbors in check pretty much, I would say. Not necessarily amazing, but, they did some positive things there, and they ended up generating 2 total turnovers in the game. A big part of why they were eventually able to win that one 27-20. So good stuff from Dallas last week, no doubt about it. In terms of their injury report for this one, they're relatively healthy coming into this game. We do see Tyler Guyton. He's questionable on the offensive line. He's dealing with that knee/ankle issue. Apparently, this is a real questionable designation, and we aren't going to know if he's going to be ready to go until much, much closer to game time there on Monday. So that's kind of unfortunate. Other than him, though, the offense is good to go. CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, neither one of them are even on the injury report this week, so that's a great sign. On the defensive side, we do see one linebacker questionable, and more importantly, guys, Trayvon Diggs is questionable there at corner. That's a huge deal. If he can't play and be very close to 100% here to try and slow down that dynamic Cincinnati passing attack, that is, that's a little bit tough. He was a limited participant in practice on Saturday, so I think he'll be playing, but is he going to be at 100%? Only time is really going to tell us there. So, yeah, let's look at the weather report real quick, guys. Obviously, we're playing in a dome there at Jerry World. Super mild weather, obviously. Bengals could be getting a little bit of a boost here, getting to be in some milder temperatures and avoiding the cold up there in Ohio. But weather, not a major concern in this one. In terms of some trends for this game, Cincinnati, they're 6-6 against the spread. They're 9-3 to the over. Dallas, 4-8 against the spread. They are 8-4 to the over themselves. So big trends here towards the over, guys, and with the total out there 49.5, the odds makers are definitely noticing, but I still think this is a game where we want to take the over. That might be my favorite play. I might like that more than I even like the side in this game, because I just think we're going to see plenty of offense. I don't think the Cowboys are really going to be able to completely shut down Burrow, although bringing pressure could certainly bother him. I do think we'll see, the Cincinnati defense continuing to be that terrible Cincinnati defense, so Dallas is going to be able to put up some points as well. So go ahead and give me over 49.5 in this game. Some more trends here. The Bengals pass blocking is in the bottom 5 there in the National Football League, so that's not great. If this is a shootout, the Bengals could end up winning this game, with Joe Burrow being so good out there. He leads the NFL in passing yards, but the Cincinnati defense is allowing the 6th most yards per play in the NFL. Cooper Rush, not amazing. Joe Burrow would be an MVP lock if this team didn't suck so bad, but hey, what are you going to do? Looking at the side here, we see Dallas getting 5.5 points playing at home. That's an awful lot of points, guys. I wish it would get back up there above 6. You could wait and see if that's a possibility. I don't know if we're going to see that number again. I mean, right now, what are we looking at? I'm pretty sure it's still at 5.5. Yeah, it's still at 5.5. no real major signs of it changing, but you never know if this could get to 6 there sometime during the day on Monday. You could try and wait around for that, guys, but I'm still taking Dallas here at plus 5.5. I think their very good pass rush against a very bad offensive line is going to make it hard for Burrow to get the ball out to those wide receivers. So go ahead and give me Dallas and the points here. I would say I like the over slightly more than I like the side, but I may end up putting both of these in the pinned comment just because there's not a ton of other options out there on the slate for this game. But there are some player props that we do like for this game, guys. So let's go ahead and hop over there. First on the docket, I like Joe Burrow over 247.5 passing yards. So just to get to 275 passing yards for Burrow and company doesn't seem like a huge ask. I mean, he's been over over 300 the last 3 weeks in a row. So that's a good sign. And I don't think this Dallas secondary is anything to write home about. So they should be able to score. That's kind of been their MO all season long. I don't think that's going to suddenly change here unless we see Burrow just constantly under a giant pile of bodies with Micah Parsons on top. That could make things a little bit tougher. Kind of along the same vein here, guys, I like Mike Gesicki over 24.5 receiving yards at minus 135. He caught all 5 of his targets last week for 53 yards if they have to get the ball out of Burrow's hands quickly. A decent way to do that is getting to the tight end, so I could see him having another pretty nice day. And really, what does he have to catch? 4 passes, 3 passes, something like that to get to 25 yards? I don't think that's a crazy ask at all. Right there on the same side of the coin, guys, I like Higgins to have a nice day. Over 69.5 receiving yards for him is only minus 125. Not the worst price. He didn't have a great day last week. I mean, he only caught half of his 10 targets for 69 yards. He did lead the team in targets, so I think there's reason to think that could happen here again. And this Dallas secondary really isn't anything to write home about. I think Higgins is in for a pretty nice day. That is under the assumption that Burrow can, avoid being sacked a bunch of times. On the Dallas side here, guys, I like Cooper Rush over 224.5 passing yards at minus 140. He's going to have to be throwing to keep up here, I would imagine. Like I said, unless we see Burrow just getting destroyed. But I like Cooper Rush to have a decent day throwing the ball, especially against that terrible defense. I think CeeDee Lamb is in for a bit of a bounce back. I don't know if that's Cooper Rush's favorite target, though, so we'll see how that goes. You won't see him here in the prop plays, but I do like Cooper Rush here to have a decent day. I also like Cooks, guys, at over 24.5 receiving yards at minus 135. He only caught 3 of his 7 targets last week, but he gets so many targets. I don't think we have to worry too much about him only having 16 yards like he did a week ago. This dude should be putting up better numbers, and what better time to do it than against this terrible Bengals defense. Last but not least, guys, a very solid play, maybe one of my favorite props of the day. We have Dowdle here over 15.5 rushing attempts at minus 110, a very reasonable price. He's been over that number the last 2 weeks in a row. He's obviously coming off a very successful day, and Dallas, if they can successfully run the ball, that means they can keep the ball out of the hands of Joe Burrow and that Bengals offense. So give me Dowdle here to get plenty of rushing attempts. There's no reason he shouldn't be running the ball somewhere between 18 and 25 times in this game, as long as he's finding any sort of success. That's all we've got for Monday Night Football, guys. Now let's go ahead and change gears. We're going to hop over and look at some college basketball, some NCAA basketball plays. We've got 5 games out there on the slate, so definitely a couple of interesting ones. It is a pretty short slate, unfortunately, but don't worry. We're going to go ahead and break down all of those games and give you our best spots here on this, kind of not super busy Monday sports day. First up, we're looking at the Golden Gophers, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, going on the road here to take on the Indiana Hoosiers. Minnesota comes into this game 6-4 on the season. This is going to be their second, conference game here in the Big Ten. Their first one didn't go great. They ended up losing 90-72 against Michigan State, and that was a game that the Golden Gophers got to play at home. So that wasn't the best showing, guys. They haven't had a bunch of amazing wins. I mean, in that loss, losing by 18 at home probably doesn't feel great. They also shot 32.1% from three-point range, which isn't terrible. If you're going to get blown out like that, you would at least be like, oh, well, we only shot 10% from three-point range. Surely we'll make a few more shots. Things will get better. I don't know if that's going to be the case. We did see Mike Mitchell Jr. play really well off the bench. He was 5 of 9 from three-point range, scored 17 points. Dawson Garcia scored 18 points, they're in the starting lineup, but they got dominated on the boards, and I think that's something they have to be concerned about in this matchup as well. Minnesota not exactly having the best season, not the best season-long numbers either. They're a very weak rebounding team. Their offensive numbers leave a lot to be desired, an awful lot to be desired out there. They don't really have too many amazing wins. I mean, I guess they beat Yale. Congrats, I guess. They lost against Wichita State. They lost against Wake Forest. That's not a very good looking team. Like, beating BCU, 79-62, not really going to get me going too much. So not loving what we're seeing here in the early goings from the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Clearly a reason they were projected around, 80th to 90th nationally coming into the season and picked to finish 18th there in the Big Ten. So we'll see what they can do here going on the road to take on the Indiana Hoosiers, a team that was ranked in the top 25 this season. They have fallen out of that top 25 spot, though. I wouldn't say they've lost any really terrible games. So they've only lost 2 games this season. They've got a win there over South Carolina. They did get blown out by Louisville, and they followed that up by getting, I'm not going to say fully blown out, but losing 89-73 against Gonzaga. It's not really like you put up the best fight there. So definitely plenty of room there for concern about Indiana, in step-up games. Did this count as a step-up game, though? I wouldn't really think so. I mean, they won their last 3 in a row, beating Providence handily, a nice blowout there. SHSU, they got a 97-71 win, and they beat Miami, Ohio, 76-57 their last time out. So definitely some things pointed in the right direction here for Indiana. I mean, in that blowout win, they shot 33% from 3. That'll work. They dominated the boards 46-29 in that one. Obviously, a pretty big skill gap. They dominated in this game despite turning the ball over 16 times. That is something that makes me a little bit concerned. Clearly something they're going to have to work on here. The starting lineup shot the 3 ball pretty well. Miles Rice, Trey Galloway combining to go 5 of 7 there from 3. Yeah, that'll freaking work. I don't know if we can count on that happening every night, but they'll definitely take it. The bench is looking a little short there. I mean, Luke Goody, he had 9 points, and he was the only points generated there from anybody coming off the bench. So I'm not worried about that yet, especially in the early goings this season. But, Indiana, there is room for improvement. There's a reason they lost those games so drastically against, some of the best teams in the country. We do like what we're seeing from Malik Reneau over the course of the season. 15.4 points, shooting nearly 60% from the field. This is a solid rebounding team. They're putting up very good, assist numbers. Offensive numbers in general are nice here for Indiana. There's a reason they're projected 26th nationally and picked to finish around 3rd in the Big Ten. In terms of some, the numbers for this game, the Hoosiers are 9.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 139.5. Minnesota 1-7-2 against the spread this year. Not a very good against the spread team. Indiana, nothing amazing. They are 5-4 against the spread though. And guys, we love Indiana here minus 9.5. Anything less than like 12, I think is very reasonable. The Hoosiers are playing at home here. On those home rims, I expect them to shoot very, very well. I don't think Minnesota is really too much of a threat here. And yeah, Indiana, I am maybe slightly worried about a look-ahead spot, but I don't think anybody's too scared of Nebraska this season. So go ahead and give me the Indiana Hoosiers here at minus 9.5. With a total here of 139.5, I'm not really too interested in the over-under. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Hofstra Pride. They're going on the road to take on the Norfolk State Spartans. Hofstra comes into this game fresh off of a couple of wins. Their last one was against a non-Division I opponent, so we don't really care about that. But their win, that 68-66 win over Arkansas State, is looking pretty nice right about now, guys. We saw Arkansas State kind of obliterate Memphis yesterday. So, yeah, that's looking like a pretty good win all of a sudden. They didn't keep things competitive against Houston. That is true. Losing to Florida State doesn't look amazing, but a very low-scoring win against Seton Hall. We got to give the Hofstra Pride, a CAA team, a little bit of credit here. They, came into the season picked to finish around 3rd in the CAA, but projected around 150th nationally. So I would say they're at least slightly overachieving. In that win there against Arkansas State, we saw some very good stuff from the squad. We had 3 starters scoring double figures. We had some decent bench scoring going on. Obviously, Cruz Davis putting up 24 points. That was a pretty nice day from him. This isn't a team that gets up a ton of threes. They're only 4 of 12 there against the Red Wolves, but they're doing some good things. That was in Baja Mar, out there in Nassau. So it's been a minute since they've played, but I think they're going to be okay here. Their last game was on December 1st. It's going to have been 8 days. I don't think that's the end of the world. Although, like I said, it's not necessarily ideal. They could be a little bit rusty coming into this one, so it's something to keep an eye on. But they played pretty well. They did a good job on the boards, actually having a rebounding edge, a slight one, but still an edge. And, they did a good job taking care of the ball. Only 12 turnovers in the game. So, liked what we saw from Hofstra in that one. Their season-long numbers are a little bit all over the place. Not an amazing rebounding team, but decent on defense. Maybe not amazing on offense. So, we have some concerns, but some good things to say about Hofstra here as they go on the road to take on the Norfolk State Spartans. Norfolk State comes into this one fresh off that 77-66 win over Stony Brook. They were 5 of 18 there from 3, 16 of 20 from the free throw line. They held a nice edge there on the boards, 40-28 on the board. So that's very, very good. We saw 4 out of their 5 starters score in double figures. let's keep in mind all this came against Stony Brook, a team that's only 2-6 on the season, so not really a time to, super freak out about Norfolk State being an amazing team, but, they did some good things. I'll give them a little bit of credit. Are they overachieving from their, preseason projection of, around 250th nationally? Maybe. Are they really going to finish first here in the MEAC? I don't know if I'm ready to crown them the MEAC champions quite yet, so we'll see what they can do. I mean, over the course of the season, their numbers haven't been amazing. They haven't been horrible. They are a pretty weak team, generally speaking, on the boards. They're, not even in the top 100 in offensive production. Brian Moore Jr. is a monster. 21.1 points per game is pretty nice, but yeah, they don't really have any wins that really jump off the page to me so far this season. So we'll see what they can do here. They are at home. They are 2.5-point favorites. We got a total here of 131.5. Hofstra 5-3 against the spread. Norfolk State is actually 6-1 against the spread this season. Guys, I think it might be time to fade Hofstra here and go ahead and take Norfolk State at -2.5. It's not my favorite spot. It's not a game that I'm super interested in it. I need to see a little bit more from these teams, and I mean, this isn't even conference play yet for them. So yeah, we have some more to figure out here, but I am leaning slightly towards Norfolk State at home. Next on the docket, guys, we're looking at Charleston Southern. They're going on the road to take on South Carolina State. The Charleston Southern Buccaneers come into this game fresh off of a heartbreaker of a loss, a 73-72 loss there at Davidson. Not able to hold on, not able to make it happen there. Kind of a tough one. We saw Baylor score 25 points against them, so that had to feel a little bit rough. They do have a couple of nice wins. I mean, taking down Miami, probably their nicest win. They have played through a murderer's row, guys, so far this season. I mean, they played against Clemson. They played against LSU. Furman isn't a terrible team. Georgia Tech they played against. I mean, getting a win over UTM, let's not freak out about that, but their close game against Davidson, not too bad, and that obviously a big upset win there over Miami. Got to give the Buccaneers some credit here. They shot the ball really well against Davidson, shooting 42.9%, 9 of 21 there from 3. They've already shortened their rotation. They're playing around 7 players per game. We like that. Kelly had a nice day, 22 points from him, 9 of 19 there from the field. He played all 40 minutes in this game, so yeah, I'm not going to be super duper worried about fatigue. I mean, that was on the 6th. This game's on the 9th. They've had some time to recoup, and these guys are young. They're going to be okay out there. We like what we saw from Lamar Odom Jr. coming off the bench there. 14 points for him, 4 of 8 from 3. So this is a team that can score it. They also had a rebounding edge there against Davidson. Just not quite able to get the job done there at the end of the game. They had 11 turnovers. They only forced 6 there from Davidson. But generally speaking, despite their weak-looking record, we've liked what we've seen from Charleston Southern so far this season. They were projected somewhere around 260th nationally and picked to finish 6th in the Big South. I do think they have what it takes to be a better team than that. We'll see what they can do here going on the road to take on the South Carolina State Bulldogs, who are 4-6 on the season. 2 of those wins came over non-Division I opponents. They, in terms of premier wins this season, I would say they don't have any. They did. They did a great job of keeping things competitive there at then number 22 Xavier, but they eventually lost 71-68. So a very close game there. They did play a good one against Samford their last time out, but they lost that one 88-81. So yeah, I don't know if the Bulldogs are really a team that I think is going to be amazing. The odds makers certainly did not at the beginning of the season. They were projected around 283rd nationally, picked to finish 3rd there in the MEAC, so we'll see what happens there. I mean, in their loss against Samford, they did shoot 41% from three-point range, so that's pretty good. We saw 3 starters in double figures. We also saw 3 guys coming off the bench in double figures, including Wilson Dubniski. He is, put up 15 points, 3 of 5 from 3, a good day from him. They had a nice rebounding edge there against Samford, a pretty decent Samford team. So yeah, you end up losing by 7. I'm not going to, give you too much credit, but they did play a pretty decent game there. Unfortunately, in this matchup, it might not be great, though. They did allow Samford to shoot 50% from three-point range, and they're about to go against a Charleston Southern team that is more than happy to get that ball up from deep. So we'll see what happens in this one, guys. South Carolina State open at 1.5-point favorites. We've got a total here of 144.5. Charleston Southern 5-6 against the spread. South Carolina State 6-4 against the spread. Guys, I think this is a chance to get a little bit of a couple points here with Charleston Southern and take them to get probably just straight up win here on the road. The Buccaneers have played really, really well this season. I like, the level of competition they face this year is just way above anything South Carolina State has seen. So I expect the Buccaneers to come out here and get a pretty comfortable win. Next up, guys, we've got the Quakers. We got the Pennsylvania Quakers. They're 3-6 on the season, going on the road to take on the VCU Rams. Pennsylvania, guys, this team has not had a great time this year. I mean, they not a team that's very respected nationally, expected to be, around the 180s or 200s, picked to finish around fourth there in the Ivy League, which is looking like it might have a bit of a down season. I guess they got their season off to a good start, winning a couple of 1-point games, but since then it's been a little bit tough. They got blown out by Villanova in their main step-up game. They lost against Elon, and then their last time out, they lost against Drexel 60-47. So it's been a bit rough here for the Quakers, guys. Drexel, not exactly a powerhouse, and losing there in the Big Five Classic in a very, sizable loss probably doesn't feel great. The Quakers shot only 4 of 18 from the three-point line in that game. They got smashed on the boards 40-29. They turned the ball over 11 times. That's not terrible, but those rebounding numbers really jump out at you. They're playing a lot of guys still. We saw 10 dudes get minutes in that game, which, maybe they were clearing the bench there, so I guess that's fine. But just a rough day. They fell apart there in the second half, and it did not look good for Penn. Coming into this game, their season-long numbers look pretty abysmal. They're one of the worst offensive teams in the nation. They're giving up 73.7 points per game, and that's even factoring in, some not so great opponents in there. So not loving what we're seeing here from Pennsylvania as they go on the road to take on the VCU Rams, a 7-2 team there in the A10. VCU was ranked around 60th nationally, and by a lot of experts picked to finish around the very top, maybe even first there in the Atlantic 10. They're coming off of a nice win there over Georgia Southern, so not the toughest opponent. They did lose against Seton Hall, but they had a nice win over Miami. They lost a very close one against Nevada. They got a nice one over Boston College. This is a team that's capable of competing in some step-up games. This, however, is certainly not a step-up game, so we'll see what they can do down the road here. They've got some tough games coming up against Colorado State and UNM, so some legitimate opponents lurking, but this game's supposed to be a blowout here, guys. We'll see what goes on. Their last time out, VCU did dominate Georgia Southern, winning that game by 35 points. So a big win there for VCU. They shot the ball pretty well, 37.5% from three. This team is capable theoretically of doing better, but that's pretty good. They didn't smash Georgia Southern on the boards. A 41-36 margin. They did a good job avoiding fouling. They limited their turnovers to only 13. We saw Max Shugla, a big game for him, guys. 29 points, 6 of 8 there from three-point range, 7 of 10 from the field in his 30 minutes. The kid was balling out there. So we love what we saw from him. Are we going to love what we see from VCU here the rest of the way? Well, I don't think there's any reason to think they're going to be bad, guys. Over the course of the season, putting up pretty decent numbers. The defensive numbers are very good. The rebounding numbers are fine. And on offense, this is definitely a team that can shoot it. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, VCU, they are minus 22.5. We've got a total here of 134.5. Penn, guys, they're only 1-8 against the spread this season, and they're having to go on the road for this one. VCU actually 5-3 against the spread. I'm not going to overcomplicate things. I don't love taking these huge favorites, but I am going to be on VCU to get the absolute blowout win and cover in this one. I'm a little bit worried about it being a look-ahead spot because, they're going to play Colorado State next, but that's not, like a conference game or anything like that. So go ahead and give me VCU here to get a win and cover. Last but not least on this pretty short college basketball slate for Monday, guys, we've got Abilene Christian. They're going on the road in a huge step-up spot to take on the number 15 Baylor Bears. Abilene Christian, they're 6-3 on the season. They come into this game winners of their last 2 in a row. They did lose a tough one against Kennesaw State. They haven't had any massive step-up games this season as of yet, so we'll see what they can do here. This is their first, insanely tough test. This is not a team, out there in the WAC that's really designed to be playing against these kind of opponents, but, we'll see what they can do. Abilene Christian has a history of, big offensive numbers in their win their last time out, guys, against New Mexico State, albeit not the toughest opponent. We saw Abilene Christian fire up only 16 threes, but they made 7 of them. That's 43.8%. Very, very reasonable. They had an edge there on the boards, which is a good look as well. We saw, Williams and Madden combined for 44 points on, a very efficient shooting. They were 6 of 10 from three-point range. They were 14 of 18 there from the free throw line. These dudes were playing really, really well. Leonardo Bertoli, he played well. Also, this is a pretty good team. They did a good job getting to the free throw line, and despite shooting, and then they shot 6 more free throws than the Aggies. So, a pretty good day out there for Abilene Christian in that one. In terms of their season-long numbers, the defense could use some work. The rebounding is definitely not elite. This was a team projected around, 175th, 180th nationally, picked to finish 5th there in the WAC. This is going to be a huge step up for them as they take on the Baylor Bears, who are fresh off a tough 4-point loss there at UConn. They, losing that one 76-72, Can't feel great. They also lost against Tennessee. This is a team that's been kind of smashing the weak opponents and then hanging tough against the toughest ones. I mean, they've got a nice win over St. John's. They've got a nice win over Arkansas. They got blown out in their first game of the season, losing against Gonzaga. But, that's going to happen to some teams. Gonzaga, pretty good, so we'll see what they can do down the stretch. But kind of liking what we're seeing from the Baylor Bears right now. I mean, in that loss against UConn, guys, I mean, that's a tough game. Obviously, they're in the Big 12, Big East battle. We saw Baylor shoot 35% from three. That's pretty normal, but keeping things even on the boards. They're a team that's going to need a rebounding edge. They didn't get nearly the calls they needed in this one, guys. I mean, they shot 19 free throws and UConn shot 33. So that's going to be a little bit hard to overcome. Not big turnover numbers for either team, but generally speaking, we are liking what Baylor has shown. They can definitely hang with the best teams in the nation. Can they beat them? That might be a bit of a big ask. I mean, their numbers over the course of the year, very, very good, obviously, where you would expect them to be, around top 40th in points per game. And yeah, just a very, very nice team. So we'll see what they can do here. They are 20.5-point favorites. We've got a total here of 141.5. Baylor Abilene Christian 4-3 against the spread. Baylor 3-4-1 against the spread. But what we want to look at here is their numbers against step down opponents. Starting off the year, two tough opponents. Then SHSU, they beat them 104-67. Then against TAR, 104-41. And then their other weak opponent, guys, UNO, they won that game by 31 points. So Baylor not messing around with these weak teams this season. Give me the Bears here at minus 20.5. I think this should be more, closer to 30 than it is to 20. I think Baylor will absolutely roll in this game, and it's not a look-ahead spot at all. They have 3 very easy games in a row coming up. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. Head over to Stump the Spread to get on our free email list and to check out all of our other free picks, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.